Wake Up GI with Jeffrey Smith. Brought to you by the Geary Community Schools Corporation.
All right, everybody, we are back up the top, a couple minutes after the hour on a wonderful Wednesday. It is the 11th of October, 2023. And this is Wake Up GI with Jeffrey Smith. Enjoyed that conversation with Amber. Yeah, absolutely. I always can learn a little something from the people that are right around you, right in your front door. We're going to get ready to kind of switch gears because our good friend, Pastor Johnson from St. Timothy's back in the studio. Of course, they are in revival mode right now. A number of wonderful events that are taking place every Friday leading up until October, to the end of October, as a matter of fact. So we're going to find out what that's about. And then, of course, as we were getting set and he was coming in studio, he just came back from the border. That's right. He and I believe kind of a contingent of individuals were on kind of a fact-finding mission, I guess you would call it, where they wanted to go down to the southern border and see exactly what's happening for themselves. And so I actually, I want to know what's going on down there because we talk about it on the show all the time. So we're going to go ahead and introduce our good friend. How you doing, Pastor?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. You've been a busy man.
Yeah, I keep busy. I don't know no other way.
Yeah, right in the middle of revival season, and then, of course, you just got back from Mexico. So I guess I'll start off with Mexico because that's the obvious for all the audience out here. They know I want to know. Sure. So let us know exactly what that was about, how did that come together, and what did you see? So start at the beginning.
Yeah, sure, no problem. First of all, good morning, everyone, and I pray that your day is starting out as wonderful, as beautiful as it is out there today.
Yeah.
So I walked outside, I was like, ooh, there's dew on the grass, and the sun is coming out.
Yeah. Well, we think it's cold. You just got back from Mexico.
Oh, let me tell you, it was like 90 degrees, and when we had our sessions together down there at the border,
right.
I was drenched. I was sweating.
Oh.
It was one of those things. The sun was just beaming on us.
I can just imagine.
But so let me back up just to give a little bit of an introduction piece to what we actually witnessed down there. And so I'm a part of the Wabash College has a program that's entitled Pastoral Leadership.
Oh, Wabash is pretty prestigious, by the way.
Yeah, so they select, every 2 years, they select a number of pastors throughout the state of Indiana.
Right.
And those pastors are from different denominations, diversity, right, across the board.
Any priest?
Let's see. I don't think there's a priest, but most of the folks are from Lutheran, Methodist. I'm representing non-denominational, there's Baptist, and the list goes on.
Right, I get you.
So anyway, we all come together, and we were meeting at Wabash College every other month.
Yeah.
We meet for like 3 days, and we have conversation with local leaders, political leaders,
right,
folks who are on the forefront. That are dealing with, dealing with issues.
Right.
Those issues may be within a particular community. And so we've got the chance to meet some good folks and have conversation around community.
Yeah.
We had to define what is community and what is community to us.
Yeah.
Right. And what I found out in my discovery is that community is not just your neighbor, right?
Yeah.
Community to me is all those who make up where we live.
Yeah.
And I also will extend that to say that definition that I believe there's a community within a community.
Right.
So we talk about the larger region of a community. So we could look at Indiana being the community, right?
Yeah.
But within there are sub-communities of towns, and within towns there are smaller sectors.
No, I follow. Yeah.
See what I mean?
Yeah, because Indiana is part of a Midwestern community.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so when we talk about issues that are occurring, the question is, what are the issues that are common ground for all of us, that affect all of us? And we're not talking about just race, just people, humanity all together. And there are some issues that do pertain to that, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, that pastoral leadership program has been funded by the Lilly Endowment Fund.
Yeah.
And so therefore, our trip was paid for, which is
no church funds were used, none of that building fund money.
None of that building fund used, but it's an investment in the leader, and so the idea around it is that you develop healthy pastors, healthy leaders, who will then lead and develop healthy churches, organizations, who would then create and develop healthy communities.
Exactly.
Right. So it's this whole piece, and part of that is being able to reflect on our own belief systems, and what we believe.
Right.
Not only just faith-wise, but what we believe as regards to society.
Yeah.
So fast forward, and so we've talked about poverty, we've talked about immigration, and the list goes on. So now let's stop talking about it. Let's actually go and see for ourselves what's going on. Now, I've seen stuff on television, news.
Yeah.
I've read it, on immigration.
Yeah.
But to see it for yourself, hands-on.
Now tell us what you saw.
With immigrants, it's a whole other sort, right? A whole other thing. So we go to the border, and we meet some leaders at the border.
Where these politicians are.
These are pastors. Okay. These are just, some of them are just regular community folks who are advocating, to help immigration or immigrants. And so we met with those leaders at the border, and they gave us their story. They gave us what was going on, what the truth actually is, and what we hear in the media is not always the truth.
So what is the truth? What was going on?
So when we got there, they were able to. We went to the border where the river.
The Rio Grande.
Rio Grande that divides Mexico from the United States, and we were there.
What were you in Texas at first?
In Texas.
Okay, what part? Like right around El Paso?
It's McAllen.
Okay, I got you.
Texas.
I know Texas. I love. That's my favorite state.
Yeah, and so our hotel we stayed at was literally like 20-30 minutes from the border.
Right.
Yeah, so we were able to actually go there. So we spent time there, and we were able to meet one of the leaders there who talked about how those who were trying to escape Mexico, immigrants, and how they would cross over the river.
Right.
And some parts of that river is only but 3 feet.
Yeah,
so
they can walk.
They can walk right over, right? And then he also told the story about the cartels.
That's what I was about to say. Were there safety concerns? Because that's a very dangerous part of Mexico, as a matter of fact.
It is, and so if you try to cross by yourself, the cartels will try to capture you, kill you, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
However, they also indicated that the cartels will sell you or over into the United States. So they prefer capturing you and then bringing you over, and also smuggling drugs and everything else.
Of course.
And making money off of it.
Right.
Rather than you just escape.
They're a business enterprise.
It's a business enterprise. So all that was like very
eye-opening.
Yeah, it was a very eye-opener. And then you saw the trails. Like I took pictures of all this. And you see the trails in which the immigrants were coming through in order to try to cross over. Right. Then you see the border. So there is a border in front of the border.
Yeah.
So there's a border that was built by non-for-profit organizations.
Right.
They spent about over $30 million.
Yeah.
And that wall goes about 3 miles. Yeah. But then it stops. And then there's like
ran out of money.
Yeah, there's this big opening.
Right.
And when you're looking at it, of course, you're like, okay, well, why did they stop? No one could come up with another $300,000.
Now, was Border Patrol anywhere around?
So yeah, so Border Patrol comes. They patrol the river.
Right.
They also come to the border where the United States has built.
Yeah,
with United States funds, if you will.
Right, because they can't go over into Mexico.
Right. They can't go over into Mexico, and Mexico can't obviously come over to us. But what we also noticed was there, the guy kept saying, well, if you go south, it's going to be, it's danger. If you go north, you're more safer. Right. Well, we took a boat cruise.
Oh my goodness! What are you really playing with fire, weren't you?
On the entire river, and it took us about an hour.
Yeah.
And we went around, and we saw Mexicans that were at the border on their side waving.
Yeah.
They were waving, and it looked like folks were just having a normal,
day.
Normal day.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't any kind of rivalry or anything like that. But what was indicated to us was that what we hear and we see through media is like you don't want to go to the border. You're gonna get killed, get shot, that kind of thing, and we didn't experience that at all.
Now, what about the numbers? Because that's one of the things that, when you're seeing what's going on in these northern cities, New York, obviously Chicago and things like that, we tend to think that the border and the governors of these bordering states are saying as much, is that they're being overrun by huge numbers of people that are coming across daily. What did you see as it relates to that?
Yeah, so fast forward to another day, we went to the Catholic Charities of Humanity, and there is Sister Norma.
Yeah.
Wonderful lady. I took pictures with her. We had an interview with her. She spoke with us. She's been doing this work for over 30 years. She travels to different places to, you know, speak on it, and I'm really thinking about having her come to Indiana to, you know, to have a conversation as well on immigration. And I'll get back to that point why. But she talked about how busloads were coming in.
Yeah.
So what happens is, and I witnessed this from my own eyes, they were crossing the border, and because they're undocumented, they will put them on buses.
They round them up.
And they'll send them to Catholic Charities to Sister Norma.
Yeah.
Sister Norma, and we were right there when this was happening.
Right.
2 busloads came in, and you're talking about at least 100, if not over 100.
So what is Sister Norma and her group doing?
So they come off the bus, they all have masks on, they go into a facility, and in this facility, they get tested for COVID. They get information about them, where they're coming from, their name, any relatives they may have here, because a lot of them have relatives already here in the United States, making a living, right?
Yeah.
And now their families here are sending for them to come.
Right.
You know, so you got that as another aspect of it as well. So what they try to do is identify those immigrants who have families already here and try to connect them with their families.
Now let me ask you this real quick. So in the Catholic Charities facility, is there any form of the United States government there? I mean, and you know, I'm sure some people are actually probably telling the truth, but let's just go worst case scenario. Are they coming in, going to Catholic Charities, and we have to believe that they're giving the right name and that they are giving the right background of these people, and they're not being vetted? Because you know, let's just be honest. If you're the cartel, this is a dream situation for you to start smuggling people in here. If if you're a terrorist, it's a dream situation for you right now. By the way, our border's overrun. So what I'm asking is, is there anybody there that's doing things like fingerprinting, kind of maybe vetting these people, double checking? Is there more vaccinations given than just COVID? I mean, there's a lot of stuff to ask. That's why when we talk about immigration, and I'm all for it. I mean, I'm all for people coming to this country because I can appreciate that people want to have a right to want to better their lives for their families, just like anybody else. Right. But we also have to appreciate countries. I know when I travel abroad, when I go into other countries, they ask why I'm going there. They want to know a background. They want to see my passport because they have a duty to kind of protect the sovereignty and their citizens. And the very same thing in the United States should apply. So I'm just kind of asking, was there a government agency represented inside Catholic Charities?
So it was. So to answer your question, no. But they did have their own security that was there.
Yeah.
They had. There were some officers, that were outside that were making sure, keeping things safe, right? That kind of thing, to make sure nobody's trafficked. That kind of thing. But they literally, their staff through the Catholic Charities, and they come off that bus. They go. It's an well operated machine.
Oh, I can imagine.
They go in. They get what they need. There's an area where they're hungry. They feed them.
Yeah.
They clothe them. They have another area for clothing. Another area where they wait while they're being processed. So there is.
So what is processed? That's what I'm asking.
Yeah. Processed.
Because Catholic Charities, I can appreciate. They're very humanitarian. We're talking about immigration. When I hear processed, I want to hear if the people or persons who are coming in are not only checked medically, not only fed and clothed, but I also want to make sure that they're who they say they are, and that they're not coming into the United States with any communicable diseases or anything else that might affect the population. And so I don't expect Catholic Charities to be able to do that. That's the Department of Homeland Security and Immigration, and it doesn't seem like they were present.
Right. So for what I've seen and witnessed in that facility, they did have medicines. They had a whole. So the facility used to be like a nightclub. And so because I looked at where the medicines were, I said, this is like a whole bar right here. So,
Catholic Charities, no nightclub.
So they renovated this entire nightclub. It used to be back in the day. And behind the bar, literally was medications from all sorts. So there was, doctors on the scene, nurses on the scene.
Right.
That evaluated them, and if they needed something, of course, that they have medicines and stuff there to help, whatever the issue is. But as far as the registration piece, they had to identify who these folks are, and be able to connect them if they have family, that's there. So there's a connection there as far as that is concerned. And if not, they do try to move them to another facility, that can house them. Until they, get a court date, or there's other processes or systems in place.
Okay, yeah, because the reason I'm asking is because you have to make the assumption, and I don't think it's mean, but you have to make the assumption that a lot of these people go through a lot. I mean, I'm talking about they're coming from Venezuela. It's a dangerous trek. A lot of it's done on foot. Some of it's done in very unseemly ways by some people that are not so nice. So you don't want to finally end up at the border and be turned away. And so that's why I'm wondering about the integrity of the systems that are in place. Because I'll be honest, if I traveled all that way and I finally made it up here, and I might have a little kind of a spotty past that can possibly keep me from being admitted into the country I've risked my life to get to, I might not give the right name. You get what I'm saying? Or my true background, because I've risked so much to get here. And so I was just kind of wondering where was the government in all this? And like I said, Catholic Charities, God bless them. I'm glad they're doing exactly what they're supposed to do. But I'm just kind of wondering where the government was.
Yeah, they do vet them, when they come in. So it's not like they just come in and we have no clue, because they could be criminals, right? And that's one thing she did say. She said that as they're coming in, diligence in whatever that system is, to make sure we're not, crossing over criminals. So part of the vetting of that is usually they allow folks to come through a little bit easier if you're a woman with children,
of course,
or if you're a woman with a man with you, or the husband.
And the cartels know this, by the way. They're smuggling stuff in with women and children.
So you got women, men with children, and that's what we mostly saw. In that facility was mostly, and then you have the kids that were 12 years old, 10 and 12 years old by themselves, because their parents were shot, killed, and the child made it through, somehow.
That's amazing.
And so you had that going on too at the border as well. So all that happened. Now let me just fast forward very quickly. The other part of the tour, we actually got to see a immigrant family, which is their home, and everything. So the husband came over some years ago, set up, got a job. He's working, contributing to society. Which is another piece that we don't always hear, is that not every immigrant is, not only undocumented, but not contributing to society.
Oh, absolutely. I've never bought into that narrative.
Yeah, but there's this guy, literally.
Real quick, we got a phone call. I think somebody wants to ask you a question. Go ahead, caller. Pastor.
Put your headphones.
Put the headphones on.
Headphones, right there.
Can you? Yeah. Yeah. All right, well, thank you very much. Go ahead.
Yeah, and thank you for
You can
saying
take the headphones.
Okay, got it. Yeah. So a couple things. One, about the cell phone. So let me back up. So when they cross over and they go through Catholic Charities, and again, this is a diverse group. It's not all black.
Yeah.
So matter of fact, I think I was the only. There was 3 of us that were of color.
Yeah.
Everyone else was Caucasian, and 1 Asian. But they
and for the record, this was put together by Wabash, so this is kind of an academic ensemble. This isn't like what happened all those years ago when we were just seeing Democratic mayors going down, and back when Donald Trump and all this stuff first started coming up, and it wasn't one of those kind of parties. Yeah. This was an academic type of adventure.
Yeah, so once they go through Catholic Charities, they then bust them. They bust them. A lot of them go through Texas. They go through.
Well, they go to
Atlanta.
Texas. They're headed to Chicago.
Yeah, well, no, there's a bus that goes directly to Chicago. Right? Yeah. When he said that, it brought back.
There's Chicago. A bus going directly to Chicago.
Directly to Chicago.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, they busted him to Chicago. So when he said that, I was like, yeah, that's that's where they're coming from.
Right.
And so. The cell phone piece, I'm going to address that because they got these brand new cell phones. Well, they give them cell phones, and the purpose of giving them cell phones is supposed to track them. Right. So they used to give like some kind of like an ankle bracelet.
Ankle bracelets.
Yeah, they stopped doing that. So they give them cell phones now, and in the cell phone device, it tracks them where they are. So that because apparently they give them funds, and they're supposed to eventually, when they become part of society.
Right.
They got to repay those funds back, that
good
kind
luck
of thing.
With that.
Right. And so I thought that was interesting as well, that that in order to track them, they use cell phones. Now, you can take that cell phone and sell it.
As I'm hearing this, I got to just tell you, this is once again, I'm looking at the government. I mean, I'm appreciating you sharing this with us because I think, and we're going to get to the revival, but this is very interesting because this is current events, and we talked about this on the show. But once again, I'm disappointed. You don't think people know about burner phones at this point? I mean, once again, if I'm risking my life and limb to get into the United States, and you hand me this little whack phone, by the time I'm in here, you don't think I'm ditching that thing and going about doing my, getting a real phone or doing things differently? I mean, the simple fact that we are approaching this in such a antiquated, juvenile manner is mind-blowing. And I'm not going to get into my politics, but there's a woman who's supposed to be in charge of this who is currently the vice president. She has the title Borders Are, and if this is the best they can do, we're in trouble. So go ahead, please.
Yeah, so let me conclude on that topic, with this piece, because, and then we can come back another time.
Yeah, we'll talk about it.
Talk about immigration, because I think it's really, I think it's an important subject.
Yeah.
Because I think that even though we're not experiencing it here in Gary, we're not experiencing it in Maryville and in other.
Because we're in Indiana.
Right. Mm-hmm. However, I know Hammond is experiencing immigration. So my point is that it's going to eventually happen, right? But and the question is, are we going to be prepared to handle when it does happen?
We can't.
Right.
Yeah.
And Maryville has had like 2 cases of it, but that's nothing compared to other areas like Chicago and other places, and Hammond, for example, that has an influx of immigration. But what I wanted to say was very quick with the family that I did go to see and visit. Like I said, the husband was there. He came over first. He created a life for his family, and then
he sent for him.
He sent for him, right? And the kids eventually. There was one kid that came, but the wife came separately.
Right.
And she talked about in Spanish. It was a translation how the cartels got a hold of her. She was captured.
Yeah.
She was raped.
Yeah.
She was. I mean, she just talked about her story.
Yeah.
But she got away. She escaped and was able to get across and to finally meet her husband. And they have this beautiful home. They're doing well for themselves. She's happy. Her family is together. That kind of thing. And they are contributing to society.
Absolutely.
She's legal. She has a documentation and stuff. So I just wanted to make that point that not all of them are,
There's a human aspect to it.
There's a human aspect to it. Here's the other piece I want to say. It's so much to say. So I have to come back.
I know. We're going to listen. We're going to get to the revival. Go ahead.
But one of the things that Sister Norma said for Catholic Charity, she said that her job. We asked the question, what keeps you doing this job?
Right.
What keeps you doing this? What's your passion around this? And she said that her passion, of course, is her call from God to do this. But what was profound to me was that she indicated that she said, I'm here on assignment to restore humanity. She didn't talk about just a particular race.
Right.
And I took that in as me as a pastor, as a leader, in my community and where I've served and where I live, is I'm here to make a difference and restore humanity.
Yes.
Regardless, what race we are. Now, here's my other issue that I've had conversation with some of my colleagues who are of a persuasion, right? And so my thing is that if we can come up with billions of dollars and millions of dollars for immigrants, and when our own community, the black community particularly, is suffering, right here in Gary,
right?
And we have to pull strings, and we have to fight, and folks still are suffering with the bare minimum,
right?
But we can come up with millions of dollars.
Billions. We don't do millions anymore around here. We do billions.
So that's my only concern. If we're talking about restoring humanity,
yes,
let's restore all of humanity.
I love it. I love it.
I mean, let's just not look at one particular aspect, but let's look at every aspect of humanity and making sure all humanity is restored.
I want to thank you for sharing that. I really do, because even just listening through you, it has opened my eyes so much. And also, as we get ready to switch to the revival, I can appreciate everything that you're saying, because I want, as I kind of talk about it in a political sense, I also want people to appreciate what you do for a living, what your day job is. And so your capacity for compassion is exactly how you are, the lens that you're looking through. And so you're a smart man, you're a professional, you understand the politics of what's going on, but you're also a human being. And as you said, you were down there on a mission of kind of fact-finding to see what you can bring back to your congregation or your community to help build it up. So I want people to appreciate and understand that. I know I got a political view on this thing, but I want to let you know I was listening to what you were describing when you talked about the families, when you're talking about the women and children you saw. That's compassion. And so I can appreciate the Catholic Charities, and I appreciate you. I wanted to kind of put that out there. Let's switch gears, of course, to revival season, because that's what we're doing right now during the month of October. Every Friday, you're kicking it off over at St. Timothy, and you got it off with a bang. So let us know what's coming up this week.
Yeah, so our theme is we're all in this together.
Yeah.
And we kicked it off with Reverend Pastor Edward Turner for New Revelation Baptist Church, Missionary Baptist Church here in Gary, and him and his congregation came. Unfortunately, I wasn't there for that first kickoff because I was in Mexico. But I'm back now, and so so I appreciate him and his word. I was viewing online, and so I was able to see the service and be a part of the service online as a viewer.
They got internet access at the border.
Yes, they have internet. They have internet access at the border. I didn't have to try to find it somewhere. But yeah, so this coming Friday we have Reverend Dr. Reginald Williams,
right?
And he's a colleague of mine. We did our doctorate together at Virginia Union and Samuel DeWitt Proctor School of Theology in Richmond, Virginia.
Right.
And so he's a very good preacher, pastor, and one that always has a good word for us. And he did a marvelous job last year in helping us in our revival. So he's coming back this year. And we have the Voices of Love.
Yeah.
It's very well known throughout the city of Gary.
That's like a bunch of congregation choirs coming together.
Absolutely. I think there's about 20 congregations that are represented in that choir. Even talking about this, if you have a child or know of a child that's gifted, meaning that they can sing, they can dance,
yeah.
Or they have spoken word, whatever the gift is, we want to cultivate that gift, and so we want to encourage parents to contact our church 219-977-0079 and to be able to just share your name, information,
right.
Your child's name, and that you want your child to participate in that. So last year we had some gifted young people in our city, that played piano and that sung or played the drums. One young man played the drums. And so we had a very good time pulling together the community as we celebrate our youth. And I think we need to do that more often.
Yes.
Is to celebrate our young people. And that's what happened to me when I was young. So I'm gifted where I can play piano,
right.
Organ, but it wasn't until the church had these kind of programs that put my gift out there. And
your pastor drafted you.
Yeah. and before I knew it, I was playing for churches and playing for community choirs.
Exactly.
And,
he put you to work.
And my gift developed, into being a musician for the church.
Do you still play now?
I play when I need to. It's still there.
Yeah.
Some months ago, both my musicians were on vacation. One was on vacation and one had a personal leave. And we were stuck without a musician. And so I wasn't panicking. They were like, Pastor, how come you're not panicking about it? Like, we don't have a musician. I was like, I'm not panicking because y'all forget I can play.
Right, exactly.
So I ended up rehearsing the choir and playing that Sundays. I played and preached 2 Sundays in a row.
Look at you.
So if I'm able to, if I need to do it, I can do it because I'm gifted to do it. So, but again, my point is that gift was cultivated and developed because someone saw it,
right,
and allowed me a platform to continue to develop that. And that's what we want to do on that third Friday. Is do this. So our youth pastor, Pastor Kern, is doing a wonderful job pulling that together. So we encourage you to call the church,
yes,
and get your child involved in that process. And we also give away those that participate. I think there's a $25 or $50 gift card that we give to our youth of our community, just to encourage them,
right,
to keep going, and we acknowledge your gift. And we want to just present this to you. To encourage you.
Yeah, absolutely. Right? That's cool.
And then the last Friday, of course, is our culmination of a concert.
Yeah.
We have J.J. Harrison and Youthful Praise.
Yeah.
They're a wonderful group. If you know that song, You Deserve It, that's one of his songs that he's written. And so he'll be here. Tickets are $40 for general admission, $50 for VIP. That means those of you that like to be a little bit late to church, you have a reserved seat for you, so you want to pay the extra $10 for that. And then we have a VIP reception.
Yeah.
So which means that you can come around 5 o'clock and 5:30 and have a wonderful meal. We have chicken that's on the menu, some fried fish, and everyone loves our chicken and fish at St. Timothy.
I know they do. I hear about it all the way here.
Yeah, and then we have some sides that go along with that. I know dessert is homemade peach cobbler, which is off the chain.
No.
And so, and then if you don't want to come to the concert, you can also just order the dinner. And then we have people doing that as well.
Yeah.
They just want to order dinner and have dinner for that night, which is $25 just for the dinner. So you have the option of $75 for the concert and dinner, or you can just do the dinner as well. So we try to be accommodating and help, and purpose of this, again, is to add to what is already being done in Gary,
right?
To cause community engagement.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, community engagement.
We're talking with Pastor Jackson, of course, from St. Timothy. We want to thank you once again for sharing your experience. He just got back from Mexico, and of course, it is revival season over at St. Timothy. Before I let you go, I want to add, we've been talking for a while, a couple of years or what have you, and, we always talk about the fact that obviously you came in with some very big shoes to fill, but I think you've been really fitting into them nice. As a matter of fact, you're just kind of doing you. You're turning this into your path.
I was just about to say, I only wear one shoe, which is my shoe.
Which is your shoes. So, as you kind of come in, and how many years have you been on the gig now?
Oh, I just celebrated Sunday before last, 5 years.
5 years.
October 1st completed 5 years.
Good stuff, man. I mean, are you starting to get in your groove now? Because I'm watching you move. Like I said, you're very engaged in the community. We're going to come and talk. We're going to have you back, and we're going to talk politics, because I want people to understand that you are on the ballot in Maryville as an independent. You do care about community issues where you live, and you are involved. And so I want to talk to you in that capacity. But as I said, you keep that church moving, man. They're out there doing stuff. You have gotten, the back to school stuff is off the chain, and all the kind of stuff you're doing. So you're starting to get in your stride.
Yeah, absolutely. My mother would say to me, she said, "Son, can you put one more thing on your plate?" I said, "Mom, you've always fed me with a full plate."
Exactly. So yeah, you're doing good stuff. Yeah.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Once again, as I said, every Friday, give us the logistics of the church, your services and things like that for people that are thinking about maybe visiting and possibly becoming members.
Yeah, sure. So you can go to our website, which is www.sttimothychurch.org.
Yeah.
And all of our information is certainly on there. We are located on the corner of 25th and Grant. I always tell people when they ask me, "Where's the church at?" I'm like, "It's the big church on the corner, right across from the street from the Walgreens." And everybody said, "Well, I know the Walgreens." I said, "Well, look across the street. There's
Who are you talking to that doesn't know where St. Timothy is?
Right.
Well, there's some folk that come in, they're not church folks, so they don't really know, because, I just don't only communicate with folks who go to church. Right. So,
I'm talking about if you're a cognizant of Northwest Indiana, and specifically Gary.
St. Timothy.
There are people that don't know. Yeah. They see the church, but they don't really know the church. Right. You see a building there, but you don't really know. They go, oh, that's that big building on the corner. Oh, that's a church.
This community is so transient.
You see, so my landmark has always been Walmart Walgreens across the street, and then just turn. That's where the church is. And,
or down the street from the Dollar Tree.
Yeah, exactly. Or if because I'm a chaplain at Methodist Hospital as well. So when I'm
oh my God, is there anything? When do you get an opportunity to sleep and watch TV?
When I go home and go to bed. I do go home. I do hit my bed. Look at the news, see what's going on around the world. And then I eat dinner and go to bed. And start the next day up early morning.
Right.
Do my my cardio and go to the gym. And
what gym you go to?
Planet Fitness.
Okay.
But I'm not gonna tell you which one because then folks will try to track me down.
Exactly. I'm not gonna tell you which one. But man. So once again, we appreciate you very much, and we're gonna keep it out there and come back and visit us soon.
Yeah, absolutely.
How's that? There you go. That's Pastor Jackson of St. Timothy Church, and we appreciate him coming in. We're gonna take a break when we